Greetings, everybody, and welcome to my new YouTube channel, the RetroIndieGamer channel, where I will be reviewing indie games and a lot of retro games. Now, to kick it off, I'm going to continue a series I started on my previous YouTube channel, which is on the 25 best and worst games on the Atari, or at least Atari 2600. With this video covering the worst game on the console. Or at least in my opinion. And no, the answer is not what everyone seems to think it is. Now, without further ado, let's get to the worst game on the Atari 2600. Okay, this is usually considered the worst game on the Atari 2600, but I disagree. There are many games much worse than this. Is this the best game? No, but it's not the worst either. But I'm going to be covering E.T. in its own review. No, this game is what I consider to be the worst game on the Atari 2600, and perhaps the worst game ever made, period. But I'm still juggling between it and other games that were made What's that you say? There's a game worse than E.T.? Oh yes. There are many games much worse than it, like the games in my list of the worst Atari games. I mean, what makes those games worse is that they had a much longer development time. So, what's their excuse? That's what I'd like to know. And for many modern games that are much worse than the game anyway, like sample games from the NES, Super Nintendo, and even modern games that make E.T. look like a masterpiece, what's their excuse, I wonder? Now, what's the worst game on the Atari? Just look. Now, what is the worst game on the Atari 2600? Well, here it is. Karate. Released in 1982 by Ultravision, and again in 1987 by Froggo, a company known for distributing really bad games. For example, they were the ones who distributed Sea Hunt. Now, what makes Karate so terrible? Just look at the game. This mess you're looking at on the screen, this is Karate, perhaps the worst game on the Atari 2600, with some of the most pitiful graphics ever. I mean, it's just a mess of pixels in some sort of shape. I mean, this game's graphics are... I mean, could they have done a better job of trying to depict something that looks like some sort of karate guy? I mean, the Atari 2600 is capable of this. It's capable of stuff much better than this. I mean, let's sort everything wrong with this game. The controls are awkward. The collision detection, practically non-existent. And sometimes I'm right in front of the guy and I keep punching him, or kicking the guy. Whatever attack it decides to do. Remember, the Atari only has a single button, and it's impossible to hit the guy. But yet he can always hit. Yet your opponent will always be able to hit you and knock you out. Oh, and by the way, the player is the purple guy. The green guy is a computer-controlled character. I mean, this game, due to its bad controls, is almost impossible to win. Not that there's really much of an incentive to win this game in the first place. Oh, and see how the pixels are messed up? When the guy is knocked down, the belt is almost up to his neck. I mean, honestly. Oh no, the guy won and he went up to the orange belt level. Oh boy, I'm really in for it now. Oh, and this game goes all the way. Oh, and if you thought I was losing before, he just got stronger. That's right. Every time he goes up a belt level, he gets stronger than you are. I mean, you barely stand a chance against him as a white belt. As you get higher up in the belt levels, it gets even worse. And yes, it does go up to the black belt level. But there's really nothing special after the final match there. It just flashes and the game ends and starts all over again. I mean, honestly, if you think that games like E.T. are bad, I dare you to play this game for more than 5 seconds. I guarantee you will not. I guarantee that you will never think so badly of E.T. again. Like I said, that game gets its own review. Yeah. I could go on and on all day about how bad this game was, but I'm going to cut it off here. Wow. Karate was pretty bad, wasn't it? Easily worthy of being the worst game ever released on the Atari 2600, and perhaps the worst game ever. Now, the interesting thing about that game is that the Ultravision version is pretty hard to find. Now, but the Froggo version is much easier to find. But do you really want the game for any reason whatsoever? No, you do not. Never even think of getting that game in any way, shape, or form. Don't buy it. Don't even download the thing. It's that terrible. I mean, I definitely regret playing that pathetic excuse for a game. I mean, it's just plain awful. Now, why is the Ultravision version probably so rare? I'm guessing that a lot of people bought the game and realized how bad it was and they threw it out. Or destroyed it. And probably why it's so easy to find the Froggo game is because people remembered the original game and nobody wanted it. Not to mention Froggo was re-releasing Atari 2600 games in the late 80s. While the console was still around then, it was being overshadowed by other consoles such as the NES. Now, if you do find Karate, put it in a glass case and never let anybody play it again. If someone asks why you won't let them play it, show them any footage of anybody playing that game and they'll have their answer. It's probably one of the worst fighting games ever. And definitely the worst on the Atari. I mean, especially considering there's a really good fighting game on the Atari 2600 released 2 years prior to Karate. I mean, it's just terrible. That's all I can say. Now, I would say that's the last I'll have on terrible Atari games, but the 25 I covered in this series is just the beginning. As well as making the series, I was finding other games that are much worse than some of the ones I had early on. And I might review some of them later on. Up next, my series on the best games on the console.